He thinks education, to a certain degree, a waste of time.
Isn't it difficult being a woman in Africa, in Ethiopia, entrepreneur, and being the daughter of Haile Gebreselassie?
And my dad always says, till this day, he says, you guys are born to serve.
Is the Haile, the Haile we know? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You wrote a book about your father.
Yeah.
Why write a book about it?
Melat actually put together a masterpiece.
Haile, he doesn't care.
Did you rent in the UK?
Yes, and by the way, I paid for everything.
Really?
Yes. So when I was in college, I had 2 jobs. Really didn't like me going to college. He's like, what is even the point?
Let's come to Melat.
Okay.
Why are you interested in AI, first of all?
I have a company called Saba,
All right.
which I work in the agriculture side. I always say women would be the best in tech.
Who is the Melat in the US or in Britain and the Melat in here? Do we have a different one in here?
I love Ethiopia so much. But a lot of the things you do is the Haile age, right? I'm just an ordinary tech person.
In Ethiopia, always the father comes. So tell me about your mom.
Wow, my mom is an incredible woman. She is the one who pushed my dad to go into business, especially the hospitality sector, hotels.
What do we expect from you in the future?
Interesting question.
Salam Melat. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Were you confused when I say salam?
Why would I be confused?
Because it's Amharic? How are you?
I'm doing very well.
All right. So I was really surprised to know that I'll be interviewing Melat Haile Gebreselassie. It's a fantastic opportunity for me to have you in here. And mainly, we'll be talking about a lot of things, but the book Dissecting Haile is the first thing that comes to mind. So you wrote a book about your father.
Yeah.
Your father is famous. We know him. He is a hero for Ethiopians and beyond Ethiopia as well. Why write a book about him?
Great question. Why write a book about my father? Honestly, when I wrote the book, it wasn't so much about my father, but more about Ethiopia, Africa as a continent, and how we can bring back the spirit that has been dying, which is the Yalaligen spirit, right? The I can spirit. And as you can see, that has been slowly dying down. And, to kind of revive that and also inspire a new generation of leaders, a new generation of youths on greatness, on the idea that they can accomplish things that they want to accomplish, and using my dad as an example. It was more of that than my dad being the center of it. So I guess with my co-author, Abayomi, a person I admire, respect, we set out to write a book about Haile. Started off as a biography, steered towards more of a self-development book.
Wow. Self-development book. So I was listening to one of the interviews that you gave, and I learned that the book is about Haile in the lanes of self-development.
Yes.
I'm not a very strong fan of self-development, but if it is about Haile, it should be really enticing. It should be intriguing because the guy has stories to tell, and the guy lived a life that is really fantastic to talk about or to discuss. So what is the core message that you think people would take from the book? And if there is any feedback from the people that read the book that you have now, and you didn't think that would be something that people would take as important from the book?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say something about this aspect of self-development. There's this huge criticism around this sector of self-development, which I was a part of them.
All right.
And, it's interesting because there are books that are not as great when it comes to self-development, but everyone wants to improve themselves.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not so much about self-development. That's the issue. It's about the books that are coming out that has become the issue. And so the takeaway for this book, when we were writing it, it was this. Actually, before I say that, one thing I didn't want, why don't I say that? What I don't want people to take away from this book which is to idolize Haile.
All right.
And that's why we steered away from the biography side, because a lot of people would idolize a celebrity or someone they look up to. And this idolization is something we didn't want. And so it was more of what we wanted is someone to internally reflect within themselves and take these lessons and kind of apply it to their life. So the idea is to get people to just think, to say, wait, okay, this is quite possible, right? Or, okay, there's something I can take away from this that I can help in my own life, instead of someone being like, wow, Haile is amazing. And so that was what I want the audience to take away from it. To feel that, this book can become kind of like a foundation to kind of understand how Haile thinks. So the way we've kind of structured it is following Haile's thought process, thinking, principles, philosophies, right? But using that as an example instead of the core theme, which we'll see in the book. We also use other leaders to kind of say that, okay, yes, Haile is one person that has these philosophies, but there are other leaders as well that have similar ways of thinking, similar thought process. And then we kind of like wrap it up with psychology or some form of science-based evidences that can make people feel like, okay, there's something here that I want to dive deeper into. And so that's the idea.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The reason I say that I'm not a fan of self-development books is I think it's a way of just packaging some idea that has been said before in different ways and giving it or selling it again. For example, I read this book. I don't know if you know the title, Ikigai.
Ikigai, the Japanese.
The Japanese way of living or something like that. So
simple way of living.
Definitely. I read the book, I reread it, and I shared it with friends. Most of the things that are in there are not really Japanese way of living life or their philosophy. Glamorizing how these people lives is not their way of thinking. It's America's way of thinking or the Western way of thinking about other cultures. When they want to make it big, they make it big. If they don't want to make it big, it doesn't. I know you all appreciate Pan-Africanism and Pan-African movements. We have a lot of things in Africa, but none of the things were packaged in that way and sold to the rest of the world. But Ikigai was sold in that way. It's really famous. In reality, I try to check. In reality, Ikigai is not what is written in the book. So I started questioning everything about self-development, self-help. So that is the reason I am suspicious of this kind of title. So I really appreciate you writing a book about your dad. He deserves it. He earns everything that people are talking about or people are writing about him, because he's a great guy. But why make it self-development?
So two things. I think the first thing is, like Ikigai, right? Self-development books, as you've noticed, as everybody usually notices, is that it's quite basic and there's nothing new, which is something interesting, because when you see Haile, everybody wants that special sauce, that secret that he has, right? But what makes Haile special is not something special or something big he has, but it's that he makes the simple things and he has very basic things that he really follows strictly. So he's very disciplined in these basic aspects of things that you would see in self-development. So it's not that the basic things are wrong in self-development. It's that we are seeking something that is really not usually there, but what we are seeking is just getting the basics things right, the fundamentals right. And so why self-development? Honestly, as you mentioned, I'm a Pan-African. I love African history. I love anything regarding technology, economics, and so on. And so self-development wasn't really my forte, as you can say. However, when I was speaking with my co-author, we had a very deep conversation, and we usually talk about Africa in these moments. And, one thing we kept talking about is, what does the new generation of youths look like? What are the new generation of leaders? What does that look like, right? How can we help youths that are hungry for knowledge, hungry for change, hungry for some sort of improvement within themselves? As you can see in Ethiopia, there's a trend of inspirational seminars and talks that are happening, right? And so it's kind of, that shows you that people really want to change and improve themselves. But the way towards that has become, it has become a tricky one. And so it's kind of helping them. And so we decided to do self-development because it's easier to consume as well. So everybody knows Haile's story, right? Everybody knows what Haile has gone through. And so it's more of, what can they take away from the book? And so that's why we did self-development. And it's funny you say, something you brought up about Ikigai is that in the book, what you would find is African lessons, Africans' way of living and how that has impacted society and also Haile. And so you would find a lot of examples of leaders, African leaders as well, such as Julius Nyerere, and how my dad and him are very similar in that sense, but also Africans' way of living, like chiefless societies, and how that impacts us as humans and how that can help someone. And so you will find a whole range of things that I've added that are Pan-African that I dabbled here and there in the book. So it's a self-development with some history as well.
All right. So the history part would be something that I would be really interested in. But the self-development aspect as well can help a lot.
Yeah, that's like the hook, I guess you can say.
All right, definitely. Yeah. All right. So is the Haile, the Haile we know?
Yes, 100%.
Really?
Yes. He is the same person at home as he is in public. I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. When Haile goes out to do an interview or says something on stage, we're always like nervous as a family, like especially my mom, because what he says indoors, he will say it. Like what he says at home, he will say it right on stage. And so we're like, what is he gonna say? And so he's the same person, exactly the same person. Yeah.
Well, I didn't expect that because this guy has interactions with leaders from across the world, and people recognize him everywhere in the continent Africa and outside Africa as well. So you would think that a political element of some leaders that he made would be found in him. He would find that from them and learn it and practice it. Sometimes when you have that kind of personality, it's kind of experiencing a dual personality. In public, you have a persona, and in private, what you think could be a different thing. But making it so far, having the one personality both at home and outside is really difficult, I believe.
Yeah, and it's because he's true to himself. And I think that's what's lacking a lot in society is us not being true to ourselves. And authenticity is such a key aspect because we're all scared, what will people say about me? And then there's the, world of social media, which says you should be a certain way or you should look a certain way. Haile, he doesn't care. He's like, I am me. If you love me, okay. If you don't, bye. That's him. And it's something that, I'm also learning from him, which is, he's like, unapologetically me. That's him. And
I believe that's a tough choice to make because the social media outside is brutal. Yeah. And for leaders like himself, business leaders saying he is an athlete, he's respected in different arenas, walks of life. So bringing that personality that he has at home to the outside world would be really tough. That's what I understand. So let's come to Melat.
Okay.
Who's Melat?
Melat. So you're going to corner me in the box. No, I'm just kidding. So as I said, I'm a Pan-African.
All right.
An entrepreneur.
All right.
A software engineer, an artificial intelligence engineer. I love innovating. I love technology. I love African history. I love reading. That's me.
Wow, amazing. Isn't it difficult being a woman in Africa, in Ethiopia, entrepreneur, loving innovation, and being the daughter of Haile Gebreselassie?
Is it hard?
Isn't it hard?
I used to look at, it's interesting you brought this up because when I was starting this entrepreneurial journey, which I wanted to have my own identity. And so that's why I steered into the entrepreneurial side instead of joining my father's company. And I used to say, oh my God, it's so hard being a woman because, you're treated a certain way. And I was very much upset with that. And then I remember my co-author, Abayami, he was like, why do you look at it kind of as a curse? It's a blessing, And so, that stuck to me, that it is a blessing. And so I now look at it as a blessing. And so being a woman, entrepreneur in tech in Ethiopia and being Haile's daughter is a blessing. And so there are areas that are challenging, which we all face. Everybody has that ups and downs, but there are also times that are, me as a woman, it's inspiring. And actually one thing is to inspire other women to enter the sector of tech, because you don't really see women in technology. Right. In Africa, there are many women in entrepreneurship. Women are the forefront, especially in these informal markets, right? But also to inspire women to join the tech sector. I always say women would be the best in tech. Like, they have the patience, they have the mind, like, why not? And so I now look at it as a blessing.
Melat, you're privileged. You were brought up in the household of this giant, and you had everything in life that you want, I believe. Why choose to struggle being an entrepreneur while you have the chance to work with your dad and contribute something to one of the companies and lead one of the companies? Maybe you have this mentality of leadership. You read, you understand people, you have this compassion towards the struggle of individuals. So why go through all the process?
Because I'm privileged, right? Because I have the privilege, there's so many problems here in this world, and entrepreneurship is just solving problems. And so I have the privilege to fail if I fail and go back to something that's stable. A lot of people don't have that privilege. And so why don't I take this privilege and do something great for society? I grew up and my dad always says, till this day, he says, you guys are born to serve, right? And so I see myself as someone that serves. And so I always say, like, God has given me everything that I can think of, right? And so I now have to provide for others. Like, I have to be the one that, because I don't have to think of the day-to-day problems. So now I can think for others, so I can provide for them and solve their problems. And so that's why I entered into this, sector that's very challenging, which is, helping others, serving others. And hopefully they also have the same privilege as me. And that's the goal, right? Imagine everybody has the same privilege. Equal opportunity exists across the continent, across the country. And if someone doesn't do that, that has the opportunity to do that, that God has given them, then we would be in this endless cycle of suffering. And so that's why.
All right. The sector that you chose to pursue your career in is the tech sector. And it's a cutthroat industry. People in the tech sector, I'm not particularly, especially talking about Ethiopia or the experience in the African continent, but in the world today, these people, tech giants are leading everything in the world, even in politics, in the economy, even in the education system. They're everywhere, dominating everywhere. But one thing I realize, I understand about these people is these people are not unapologetically dumb softs, like you said yourself. These are really, really cunning, really mischievous individuals who can do anything to gain some kind of benefit, to gain some kind of opportunity, advantage against whatever is there standing on their way. So do you think you have what it takes to be like them?
my dad, he says when he's a runner, he's like, when he competes in world, stages in the Olympics and so on. He says, you know what's funny? He says, other countries like runners from the Netherlands, runners from the UK have so much equipments. They have top of the class scientists, top of the class, coaches, equipments, everything you can think of. But he says, I know I can win them. And so I set out to win them. And, it makes you think, wow, that means we as Africans can also win. All these things are distractions, all these, in tech that they have all these resources, which, yes, it is important to a certain degree. But, when you come back to Haile as a runner, he bypassed all of that and won them. And so it is cutthroat. It is tough.
Yeah.
But we can win. And, historically, Africa, it's sad because we as Africans were innovators. We were creators. We were the ones in the forefront of science and maths and even technology. And so it's not something new. That's something people need to understand is that, our forefathers have been the ones who thought of creating this incredible innovation. Yeah. And so, we're bringing that spice to the West. When we're in tech, we have that, me coming in to tech with a different point of view was, bringing the seasoning. Their food is plain, so now we're bringing in the seasoning.
All right.
So you can think of it like that. But yes, it is tough. As you clearly pointed out, they have an agenda that is not really going to benefit us as a society. Yeah. And so we have to do something about it, right? And that's what I'm trying to do, trying to do something about it.
Amazing. I mean, I really appreciate the gut. I appreciate the courage and everything that you have. I don't want to discourage any of the ideas that you have, but I was reading books and watching documentaries about these companies these days. We're talking about the age of AI. Yeah. We're talking about people owning part of the world. Yeah. I heard, if I'm not mistaken, one of the guys, the tech guys from the US, he was claiming that these individuals, the tech giants, should own cities. Then they will own countries. They will own part of a country, then a continent. They have this kind of agenda, this kind of big wishes. Yeah. So having the heart that you have, the conscience that you have, the clear heart that you have, do you think you can penetrate their world?
It's not penetrating the world. It's creating our own world. They can, mess around in their own world. But we, as a society, it's our duty to create the world that we want to live in, right? And what does that world look like? So now we see we don't want that world. We don't want that to happen in this world. We don't want this greediness or this level of whatever it may be that they're, this agenda that they have. So, okay, I'm grateful to see that that's not something I want. And now it's our turn to create this world that we do want. And so it's not so much about penetrating into their world. It's about creating the world that we want. And how does tech play in that world? How does AI play in that world, right? What does it look like? It's something that we have to start thinking as a society right now, especially as Africans. We have to think about this. What does technology look like for our country, for our society? What does AI look like? What do we want it to look like? It's not that they've created the world, therefore that's it. There's no other options. No, there's multiple options out there. And we just have to think. We have to come up with the solutions. We have to kind of think out of the box. And that's the beauty of things as well, right? Is that we now have to be creative in coming up with these solutions. And what's funny is they're going to follow. They're now going to want to be a part of our world because they're like, whoa, that's way better than what we have. And so that's how I look at it.
So you remind me of this movie that I watched. Probably you watched it. So Black Panther comes into mind. Thinking about I mean, the whole thing that you've been saying and actually creating our own narrative and portraying Africa the way we want Africa to be portrayed in the world stage. I just have one point about that issue and the points that you're making. Is it that easy? Or because you were brought up in that household of Yalal, everything is possible. Is that affecting you, or is it that easy? Because we're talking about, I'm not against discouraging anything. I wish this thing happens. I wish Africa comes together and every resource that we have had before comes to be a reality for this generation. But I'm skeptical about some of the things that I wish for, because the reality of the world is different. We have an empire today. That empire happens to be in the northern part of the world, not in this part of the continent. That empire happens to be the US. And these people are actually worshiping technology, worshiping your world, the world of AI, the world of technology. They live it, they breathe it, they talk about it day in, day out. They create everything using that. So by penetration, I was talking about this issue and actually being skeptical about the wishful thinking of some of Africans, some Africans, including myself. In this show, I bring people who are really aware of Africa and the potential of Africa. But these days, I believe we have to be really skeptical about some of the things that we say. Manifesting it is really important, really amazing, but bringing the issue, the matter into the ground we're playing and making it a reality is another thing. So that's why I'm a bit skeptical about the whole issue.
And you have every right to be skeptical, but I never said it's easy. If it was easy, anyone would do it, right? Everybody would be doing it. It's very challenging, and I steer away from the word hard or it's a problem because it's solvable. So it's a challenge. Now, when you steer to this world of AI, which is for example, not really doing well for us as humans, they're working day in and day out, right? It's not like they found it easy and this is such a default setting for them, right? It's a tough journey ahead. And the Yalal spirit or the I can spirit, it's not so much saying it's easy, it's so much saying that it is possible. And every great thing happens with a grand vision. That everybody says it's not possible, it's tough, why are you doing this, what's the point of this, right? But you have to have that courage, you have to have that drive to be able to push the boundaries, or we're gonna be set into this world of that we don't want. So someone has to be like, no, let's do something grander, let's do something bigger. And this aspect of doing something big doesn't have to be changing the world. Someone can just change themselves and it will be big enough, right? And so Yalal, I know what you're trying to say, which is more of like, life is hard. It sounds very like delusional, this idea of anything is possible. So what is even the point, right? Like, why are you saying this? You did grow up in a privileged household, and so you do have that, path. I know that's what you're trying to say, but what I am trying to say is that this path is also accessible to you guys. It's not limited to the elites, right? It is, you are able to accomplish these things that you set out to, even if it's so small. You don't have to set yourself in a box. And I know that life is challenging to a certain degree, right? I know it's extremely hard, and I'm not saying it's not hard. I'm saying that you also have that opportunity within you to think differently and to, push the boundaries.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Africa.
Okay.
The continent we love. And we have a country, Ethiopia. Why care about Africa while we have Ethiopia to care for? Like, the problems that Africa has, Ethiopia have them. Of course. The opportunities that other African countries have, Ethiopia has them as well. So are you thinking of Africa from the perspective of the citizen of Africa, or from being one person who's from the continent, or are you trying to think of Africa as someone from Ethiopia, and that someone from Ethiopia should be concerned about the rest of the continent?
So, as you pointed out, we have very similar challenges as a nation. And so when I say Africa, it's more of from a sense of we're all in the same boat and we're all facing the same problems. But yes, you start from your own country, you start from your own society. And so Ethiopia is my home. And so that's where the heart beats for me, right? But I'm saying Africa more of, in a sense, not to segregate ourselves, but to say that, hey guys, we're all in this together. We're all facing the same challenges here. And so that's why I use the word generically and say more of like an Africa, which I know there's multiple countries within Africa, but that's why, yeah.
Okay. Where does the love come from?
I think, so my dad is one aspect of it. He always, as I said, he loves Ethiopia so much. And so I grew up loving Ethiopia as well. That's where the love came for me. I think other aspects of it is, when I dive into, as I said, the history of Africa and Ethiopia, I love Ethiopian history as well. You start to see the beauty that resides here, but also mothers, African mothers, Ethiopian mothers. I love them so much. They work so hard. I feel like there's no one in this world that works harder than them. And like they deserve the world. And so I love them. I guess you can see it like
all
that.
right.
Yeah.
We'll come back and talk about Africa in different aspects of its nature and other things. The world of AI. Yeah. Why are you interested in AI, first of all?
Because AI has the potential to change and solve a lot of the problems that we have. From medical problems to education, the list goes on. And so that's why I'm interested, that it's a tool that we can use to drive change and solutions. Yeah.
So we can understand about what is to come in the future from your endeavors, and what are the engagements that you have supported by AI and technology? You are establishing a company, or you have a company that works in that area?
Yeah. So I have a company called Saba, which I work in the agriculture side, right? Agriculture and logistics. But we use AI to help. So, AI is not, as I mentioned, it's not the root, it's not the heart. AI is kind of the side thing that can help boost certain things. That's how I see AI. I know other people see it differently, but for me, that's how I see AI. And so, for example, coming back to agriculture, one aspect of agriculture that AI can help and that we're working on is through satellite imaging. We can. Great example of this is, Ethiopia, we've been facing some droughts in certain areas of the region, right? We can forecast that, and this can be prevented way earlier than it even started utilizing AI. Another aspect is, and this is something that I'm more passionate about and that I work on Saba on, is, there is such a big issue where farmers, 80% of Ethiopians are farmers, right? Scattered across the country. But these farmers don't have access to the market. Usually what happens, as we are here in Addis, what they usually do is across Addis, they would source like vegetables and fruits from farmers that are nearby. So what happens to the farmers that are even further away? How do we locate them? How do we find them? They are someone that we can find, utilize. Also, they can help us, we can help them, and then, we can bridge that gap. And so using AI, you can locate farmers and you can know exactly what they're growing, how good, the quality of their crops. You can see their seasons, you can track all of these things. And in the end, you see that through AI, we can create a connection. We create this web of connections, this kind of ecosystem where we're all together, yes, you are far away from where I am, but I can connect to you through AI and find you. And so that's what we're doing here at Saba is, finding these farmers, helping them, especially in seasons that are so tough for them. They're the backbone of Ethiopia. Literally, they're the backbone of Ethiopia. And so how do I help them? How do I find them? And so that's how we can utilize AI.
Is it operational already?
Yes, it is. And so we do extensive research on these creating technology, because another thing that's very tough for Ethiopia and also across Africa is we lack data, and AI needs a lot of data.
Definitely.
It's basically without data, there's no AI.
Definitely.
And so what we're working on right now is trying to collect our own data as a nation. And that's going to be very, crucial. We're also moving forward for other sectors of AI. And so that's what we're working on. We have engineers, researchers, where we are collecting data, which is very tough, but very important.
All right. I don't believe the world we have is a dystopian Ethiopia, but in terms of AI, people seem to think that this hype, I call it a hype sometimes when I'm frustrated about the whole thing.
Yes, it's a hype as well.
It's a hype.
Yes, of
really?
course. Absolutely.
Okay, tell me about that.
Okay. Yes, it's a hype. So, there's these waves of AI. It's called the AI bubble, and then it busts, and then, you can see it throughout the decades. There's always these hypes, and then it falls down. And so, yes, it is a hype. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
So if it is a hype, you're grabbing the opportunity and you're harnessing it to do something today, and you don't mind if it vanishes the day after tomorrow?
It won't vanish. It will evolve.
Yeah.
So that's what will happen. As I said, for me, AI is not the center of the things.
Yeah.
It's just an enabler. It's just a side thing that you can use to speed things. And so where I do call it a hype is that people think that AI now can do all these sorts of things, and that it will, revolutionize different sectors, right? But in reality, it's not. It's far from that, right? And so you even find ChatGPT, even Amazon had its own groceries where they're like, oh, AI advanced. And then you find out that they had installed hundreds of cameras, and somewhere in India, people were actually manually, doing it. And so even ChatGPT, they're manually labeling the data there. It's there's that manual side of things. And so it's not as hyped as people say it is. And that's where I'm going at it, right? It will evolve to a degree where it is what they want it to be. But right now, it's nowhere near that.
All right. Yeah. You are an expert, so you have the authority to talk about this issue, and that's why I'm going deep into the issue of AI. Yeah. And from the very outset, we were talking about the naming of this podcast, AGI, and you told me that artificial general intelligence is what AGI is. And I was telling you, no, it's Abraham's global insight. So we did the trick, and we did whatever we did to make the brand come to reality. And this happened in here. You have the expertise to understand the whole thing. Your dad owns companies in different places in Ethiopia, including hospitality industry and other places. Wasn't he like, you have the expertise, so come help me with the ventures I have? And instead of you going and venturing into your own world, like establishing a company, Saba, and doing your thing.
So 2 things.
All right.
The first thing is I actually joined my father. I still kind of help out. And I said, we can really help the company who's utilizing tech. He was very skeptical about it. So he wasn't saying, come on board. It was me kind of forcing myself in and saying, we can utilize tech to do these things. Yes, I still kind of still work at the company where in terms of to the technology side of things, but it wasn't my dad who told me to come. It was just me forcing myself in and trying to convince him that this is important. Now he really sees the potential, especially with Saba. He's like, wow, he's like, this will change the country. He's now a tech enthusiast. But initially he was not at all.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you think your dad used ChatGPT?
No.
No, not really?
No.
Really?
No.
Are you trying to convince him to use it?
He doesn't have time for it.
Really?
Yeah, honestly.
I mean...
for him, work is... and that's why he didn't see tech as a thing, because he's like, you're on your computer the whole day. What are you doing, right?
No.
And so for him, work is like, going to these construction sites and doing the things. But I'm trying to convince him that you can utilize tech to make your life more easier or more efficient, I guess you can say. But for him, it's like, no. I like my way, and I'll stick to that, which is absolutely fine.
What do you think? Do you think he would fall in love with it because he would get
ChatGPT?
No, there's a technology aspect of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
he would absolutely love it so much, because even me trying to tell him about what we do at Saba, he's fascinated by it. He sometimes thinks, he's like, this is sorcery. This is impossible. I'm like, no, it's literally possible. Like, we're doing it. And there's so much greater things.
This is sorcery.
Yeah, he's like, absolutely not. You cannot do that. And I was like, I'll show you. And so when I showed him, he's mind blown.
Okay.
And so he's now getting into it. But I know when he does,
all right,
he'll be very excited. Yeah.
But I understand your dad is a man of routine.
Yeah.
Like he likes his things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whatever he does today will be done the following day, and after that in a week, every time. So, do you really believe? Granted that your dad believes in technology, now he knows that technology can alleviate the burdens that he has, and he can have extra time for leisure to do other activities, spend time with people, things like that. Do you think he'll grab it? He will say, okay, let me do and let me have fun?
So I first want to say that this is why AI is hype, right? It's not going to solve all your problems, right? It's not going to magically, in a blink of an eye, improve life, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying that. So it brings its own problems, right? Like social media has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
And so for him, I know that once he gets in the hands of some of these tools that can really help him, I know it will change his life. And that's what I'm trying to push, right? I'm really trying to push him in that sectors. But as you said, there are certain routines that he does that you don't need AI to, optimize, right? He's happy doing it. It's like, for example, construction sites. He loves going to construction sites. I would say, why do you have to go to construction sites? You can, optimize certain things like cameras and then track things, right? But he loves going there. And so everything shouldn't be optimized if you have fun in doing it. And so, but other aspects, yes, I think he would. Yeah.
Melat, let me tell you how an ordinary upbringing in Ethiopia is like. We kind of have friends. We go to school together. Yeah. We spend time outside, outdoors, playing football. There is, growing where I grew up, there is a dust part of it, and forgetting lunch. You may eat or not. People may not worry about you eating or anything like that. Then you have other activities that you do. You go spend time with friends, talk about speculations of what you have about the world, and that is our life, regular kind of life. What is a child's upbringing in your household or growing up with your friends?
Oh, all of that, right?
Really?
So it's.
Did you have the freedom like we had?
So going out. So we had the freedom. Life. Yes, I did grow up in a quite different household because of my father. But life as a child is quite similar to everyone. Yes, as I said earlier, and as you pointed out, I was privileged in certain areas, which I'm not going to sugarcoat and say, oh, no, I wasn't, right? No, it's, it is something. It's me being honest. But yeah, we hanged out with friends. We loved running around. I loved, walking. It was part of our day-to-day life. I think for me as a child, one thing that I did enjoy is like so I have 3 sisters and a brother. And so us with my cousins going out and just literally like, running around. It's a part of everybody's life, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Do you think your generation understands the generation that came before it? For example, your dad's generation. I take it your dad is from the baby boomers generation or something like that.
So he's 52. So what is that?
Something like that.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah. I'm millennial.
Okay, I'm a Gen Z.
Are you a Gen Z?
Yeah.
So, do you really believe that a Gen Z understands us millennials?
And like fully, I can't be in your shoes, right?
Yeah.
So I can't fully understand it. I can comprehend certain things.
Yeah.
Just as you can't with our generation, right?
I try.
Yes, you try.
Yeah,
certain things. And I can't with the newer, I think Gen Alpha, right? Generation.
Yeah.
Which are completely different to even our upbringing. They now have devices. And they're called iPad kids, right?
Yeah, iPad kids. Yeah.
And so you can have an understanding, like a comprehension of, okay, what it can be or what it might feel like, but I can't be in your shoes and actually know exactly what it is. Yeah.
For example, in terms of, I have this difficulty hanging out with my cousins, and as a people who are Gen Zs, I listen to a certain kind of music from the 1990s Ethiopian music. It could be the religious songs or anything like that. And these kids are confused about the whole thing.
Yeah.
They have a different taste of music, a different taste of everything. So that's why because you told me that you are into books, I was hoping, I understand you because I read books.
Yeah.
Because in those books I read, there is Gen Alpha, Gen Z, millennials, baby boomers, all of it. So reading doesn't help.
To fully understand you as a generation. Well, reading helps to a certain extent, but as I said, I can't be in your shoes, right? And that's something that more older generations need to understand with younger generations is it's like, you can't really fully be in our shoes. It's literally impossible, unless you're living and breathing by it day by day. But you can have an understanding. So reading does help. And I when it comes to reading, and history, as I mentioned, I like more pre-colonial history. So way older than anyone. And so that's where I steer towards. And even in those eras, I can't really understand how life is, even though I read a lot of books about those eras, about those times. I can't really understand how they're living their life unless I'm there in their shoes. And so that's how it is.
Amazing. Let me take you to the other part of the world, the world that you experienced, you lived in, you worked in, the US and Britain, and compare it to Ethiopia. Who is the Melat in the US or in Britain, and the Melat in here? Do we have a different one in here? And the reason I'm asking you this question is...
Yeah, that's a great question.
Definitely. Yeah. I imagine you working in some company and some guy telling you to do this and that. Yeah. And in your heart, you're thinking, going back to my country, I can run my own company and nobody can tell me to do anything. Oh, that kind of thought. Yeah. How is it?
So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, I think being in Ethiopia, I came back to Ethiopia because I love Ethiopia so much. But a lot of the things you do is Yalaligen, right? That's Haile's daughter. And so you're always cautious about it. Everything I do, right? And so, but that does not exist in the UK. And so even when I'm working at a company and they don't know, I don't tell them I'm Haile's kid. They nowhere can they know that. So I'm just an ordinary tech person. And, I, to a certain extent, enjoy that because my identity is not kind of overshadowed by my dad's. And so I can kind of build my own identity. And that's why when I was in the UK, for a certain time, I enjoyed it because I was building my own identity, my own self. What do I enjoy, right? What do I want to do? And I can be more adventurous in the things I explore. that's how I explored tech, right?
Wow.
And so that's how it's very different in the UK. But then you reach a stage where you're like, but home is better. And so that's why. And then also a stage where you're like, wow, I can really help my people if I go back. And so that's how it evolved, yeah.
Did you rent in the UK?
Yes, and by the way, I paid for everything.
Really?
Yes.
Tell
I
me
had a
about
job.
that.
So when I was in college, I had 2 jobs.
When you were in college?
Yes, I had 2 jobs. I paid for everything because I really wanted to steer away from the Haile and prove to myself too that I'm not a spoiled brat, that I can do it. And so I had 2 jobs. Actually, at one point, I almost had 3 jobs. No one would know, right? But I had jobs since I was really good in tech. At college, I had an AI job. I had a tech job, and then my teacher wanted me as a TA. So I was involved as a teacher assistant and then also as a lab assistant. And so I was working, and then I was even a teacher because I loved teaching. And my friend was like, oh, she was a teacher as well. And she was like, it's like a tutoring like center.
Right.
And she was like, we need a teacher.
Right.
Do you want to be a teacher? And I was teaching people in grade 3 and 4, and I loved it. One of my favorite jobs. And so I was doing all of this in college and paying for my everything. Yeah. But my parents did help me as well in the early stages. But after that, I was like, I really wanted to prove myself. And so I set out to prove myself.
Were they comfortable with you doing all that?
My mom was so happy. My mom was incredibly happy. My dad, he's like, why even bother going to college, right? Like, what's the point of college?
Really?
Yes, that's how he was. He really didn't like me going to college. He's like, what is even the point? Why tech, you know? But my mom was very supportive, very supportive. She's actually the one who was like, yeah, go out and do it. And so she gave me the motivation.
Amazing. One thing I wouldn't really picture your dad saying that you shouldn't go.
Yeah.
Because he kind of strike me as someone who likes traditional knowledge.
Quite the contrary. He likes practical knowledge. He thinks you gain knowledge through practicality. And so he thinks education is, to a certain degree, a waste of time. And he says that, one of the things he says is that education makes you egotistical in the practical areas of life because you think now you have this qualification, you're too good for other jobs or other works. That's what he thinks, which I agree with him as well. He never went to a formal university. He never did that. He barely finished high school. And so for him, it's like, I'm here without it. So what's the point of it, right? But I disagree. Education is very important, especially when someone comes from a low-class family. It can really change someone's family. And I think they did a research about this on how someone getting a higher education in a household can change. It's like 95% of a chance that they will change their household. And so education is extremely important.
Amazing. These are really vital points that I want to know about you and your dad, and giving me that insight is really deep because in this podcast and in other places with friends having conversations, this is one of the arguments that comes up every now and then. And going to college, especially now in this time of technology advancement, artificial intelligence and everything. And I say, if you can be practical about what you do, going to universities may not help, but there are friends, professors and doctors that are teaching in universities, and when they find me in person, they roast me.
You know what it is? It's that education is important, but university has become the only form of education. So I'm a very big advocate of vocational training. So these are things such as plumbing, right? Or like a great example of this is, a family friend of mine, she went through the formal education, didn't get a job, did nothing. And then my mom said to her, like, she couldn't, like, basically jobless, right? Which is what a lot of youths are suffering now. So my mom was like, okay, why don't you go study sewing? Vocational training, 6 months training. So she entered this vocational training program, so sewing. She came out and, she started sewing clothes here and there, like Abasha Kamis, here and there. And now she has an incredible store. She's doing amazing. She's now she's doing so well that she's also making clothes for people abroad and shipping it. And she's making foreign currency. She's making dollars through that. Another example of this is also someone who's a close family friend of ours, went to conventional school, came out jobless, not doing much around, wasting sometimes of his life. And then my aunt was like, right? She was like, just for fun. So he had like a job here and there. And so he did that. And then he collected some money. And she said to him, you have to go to cooking school with that money. She was like, unless you go to cooking school, we will fight. And so he ended up going into cooking school, as a chef. And now he's an incredible chef.
Really?
And so vocational training, and we should encourage people to enter into these sectors. And so for the professor that says, stop saying that, you're both right. It's useless.
Yeah. But
it's also important because, academia, like medicine, lawyers, as you clearly pointed out, even though you didn't go down the law path, you do need conventional education, but then there's the second option of vocational programs that are incredible. They're short, they're practical, as my dad says, they're practical, as you say as well, practical again. And also even, let's look at tech as well. You don't have to go to a conventional university to learn how to code, how to do software engineering, how to program. There's boot camps, short boot camps that will literally teach you everything that you will learn in school. There's also online classes that you can utilize, YouTube that you can utilize to learn these skills. And that's why a lot of people, especially in areas such as Kenya and Nigeria, and I pray that Ethiopia also utilizes that. They're learning these skills online, and they're freelancers, and they're freelancing abroad. And they're making so much money sitting at home, coding, again, making foreign currency, making dollars, and they're changing their lives just at their comfort of their home. And that's the beauty of tech, right? You're able to do that. You're able to utilize these resources that are, a lot of the times free to help your life. But then there's university, which everybody is kind of set to say, you have to go to university and this is it. And we as a country need to change that idea that if you don't go to university, you're worthless, right? No, there's other options that can help you reach a greater stage in your life. However, if someone is in the academic route, university is amazing, right? You can learn that academia. And you can also, to a certain extent in university, network with people that can maybe be your co-founder for a business, right? But it's not always the path. And that's what I would say, yeah.
Definitely. That's really insightful. And you keep bringing up your mom's name and her contribution in different areas of your life. In Ethiopia, we have this understanding of families, and always the father comes, especially when the father is as a dominant figure as yours, the mom is always there to be shadowed. So tell me about your mom.
Wow, my mom is an incredible woman. She is the business mind. I write about her a lot in the book. So there's a chapter dedicated about her because she did help and shape my father as well, especially in the areas of business. So my mom, she's the complete opposite of my dad. Like literally day and night. My dad is more, aggressive. He's more out there. He talks a lot. He's loud. He's like, literally in his office, he's, standing up, going somewhere, coming back. He's all over the place. And my mom was the complete opposite. She's very quiet, very soft-spoken. Even when it comes to business, she likes her strategies. She likes thinking through problems. She likes to see where things are, where my dad is like, take action now. And so there's that balance between them. And that's why I admire my mom, because she, in the back scenes, they have this vision. She has this vision of certain things, and they have this idea, and, they think strategically, which is what I admire about my mom. And for her, she does take action, but she doesn't fear this idea of thinking about the problem first. While my dad is more of like, no, let's take action now. Let's do this now. It's like, right? Well, my mom is not like that. And so that's why I do admire my mom. And, she had a big impact in my life as well, and my dad's life as well. Yeah.
And I just love this, and I want to hear more about it, because it's not many times that we hear about your mom. We hear from endurance, we hear some things from the film, and people have some understanding as to where your mom came from and their relationship and things of that nature, but we don't have the depths of that. So from what I'm hearing right now, she's a strategist.
She's a strategist. She's a thinker. She's a woman that has a vision. She's actually the one who pushed my dad to go into business, especially the hospitality sector, hotels. She's the one, and you will read a lot about it on how that journey was. She's the one that pushed it, and she, she's a force to be reckoned with as well. She, if it wasn't for her, I don't think my dad would be where he is now as well, because she has this way of thinking, which is fascinating. Like, she can see things that you wouldn't see, especially in business. She would foresee problems. She would foresee even opportunities before you will even see it. And that's why she's a strategist. And she would think. So she would sit down and think about what are the ways we can do things. And she would listen. She's not a talker. She would listen. And so she likes listening to experts. My dad is more of like, let's just take action, right? Let's just get the work done, he's absolutely right as well. You have to get the work done. But she's like, let me see your perspective. Let me hear what your ideas are. And then she will know how to navigate through that in her own ways.
Is she involved in the businesses?
Yes, she is.
Really?
They work together.
Really?
Yeah, they work together.
Amazing.
So they're very different in their areas, how they work, but they work together.
All right.
Yeah.
So let me take you back to Africa, Ethiopia, and the world of technology. Okay. How do you see the future of Ethiopia and Africa through the lens of technological advancement and technology, the aspect of technology in general?
So a lot of it is we're in the forefronts of things. So we're not, I'm being careful with this word, but I'm going to use this word, colonized by technology, and we're not behind the scenes and affected by it. We're more of at the forefront, where we're like, we're going to utilize this to solve our problems, to spread our stories, to, make change, to innovate in whatever aspect it may be. So that's how I vision us in the future of tech, whatever that looks like. And we have to think about this. We can't just be passively accepting all that comes from the West. We also have to actively think about it now. And
what do you think are the practical steps that we should take towards that goal?
So one aspect is learning it to a certain degree. You don't have to be an incredible coder, or like, I remember there was someone who was like, I'm going to learn the maths of AI, which is great. I'm not saying that's not needed, but you don't have to be an expert in that in order to think on what I can do. Just even knowing basic problems of our society and seeing what is out there, what are other societies doing, what are other countries doing, utilizing this, and how can I bring it here? Just kind of researching about that, analyzing it is a huge thing. And bringing it back to our own, citizens, our own people, like, how can this help us? Not so much passively taking it. Yeah.
What are the most important things in your life? I mean, what kind of personality are you building? Like, I see you becoming this leader, powerful, visionary, optimist about many things. But what is the understanding you have of you, and what do we expect from you in the future?
Interesting question. I think how I see myself is in the future is someone that can keep paving the way for us as a country, as a continent, solving problems, not, being in the back burner anymore, not suffering. There's too much of it. And so I guess someone that is trying to help in any way I can. The people. So that's how I see myself. Just to help. I guess that's help in any way I can, whatever that may be. Might not be tech in the future. I might be doing something completely different.
Definitely.
If it will help the people, I'll be there. So that's how I see myself. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you think you're affected like the rest of us? Like as an Ethiopian, not being expressive is actually admired. Not telling what you feel inside is actually encouraged, rewarded. Are you that kind of person, or you are the opposite?
So the opposite of being vocal about expressing. No, well, I'm trying to be the opposite, but I'm I don't vocalize what I am, but I'm trying to be more vocal about, as we said, unapologetically myself, right? Being that person. My dad is that, which is the complete opposite of what a majority of Ethiopians are, which, we are very quiet. We don't want to say much. We don't want to express ourselves too much. I'm like that, but I'm trying to break out of it. And so even me doing interviews, it's way out of my comfort zone. And so I'm trying. I'm trying, yeah.
Okay, you like reading prehistoric African history.
Yeah.
And you met these people in the West.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to come out.
Okay.
I just want to ask you and want to know your take and your feeling about this. You met people in the UK and in the US and other places. These people whose ancestors came to Africa, colonized, did a lot of things to Africa.
Yeah.
And we are where we are mainly because of the impact they had.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of looking at these people in the UK, I thought of that these people went to Africa, did all this thing, and now today I'm with them and I have this feeling. What kind of feeling do you have first about that? And do you have any kind of judgment?
So first, when I was getting into reading about African history, I really got mad. Like, it was like, why is this happening? I actually got very emotional about it. For quite some time. It kind of even depressed me, as you can see, I mean. But then, that's why I love pre-colonial Africa, because you see the Ethiopia or the Africa. Well, Ethiopia was never colonized, and that's something to aspire to, because we as Ethiopians did it. So it's not challenging. But something I like about pre-colonial Africa is how us as a country, as a society, as a culture was thriving, and that we can bring it back. And this isn't our end story. That's, for me, I used to get very emotional, and I would even, I guess when I was in the UK, I went to the Victoria Albert Museum, and you would see like all the artifacts that is ours, right? You would see even Ethiopian artifacts. It's all displayed there, right? Like King Tedros' crown. It's literally there. And it makes you like, it creates something within you. But then I realized I was getting too emotional back then. So I realized, okay, you know what? I have to now see, okay, this is happening. This is where we're at. What does the future look like, right? Are we going to be like this forever? What can we do now? And so instead of holding too much anger within me, which did not help me at all, I tried to say, okay, this is really wrong. I don't want us to be in this position anymore. I don't agree with what they did. So what does a new world look like for us? And that's why I love pre-colonial Africa, because you see, what did Africa look like before imperialism, before colonization, before, any of these influences? What did Africa look like? And it gets you so exciting, because we were thriving. We were, as I said, in the forefront of innovation, the forefront of math, science, all of these aspects of things. And actually, one of the softwares we're making, that's why I call it Nile Link. We're going to turn it into a company, because, the Nile River, there's a great book called Nile River civilization. I'll send you the book, but
Sure.
it shows you all the innovation that has happened before then, all the greatness that we did before then, and our forefathers did, and what we can learn from that. Like Timbuktu in in Mali, it's bigger than just Mali. It crosses through Nigeria as well. They had a 96% literacy rate, and it makes you think, wow, we had that back then. Now it's probably even lower than 70%, right? And so that's why I love studying pre-colonial history. And that's why I encourage everyone to study it, because it gives you a different perspective of things, especially the future. That is outside of the position we're currently at, which is, I guess, we're in neocolonialism, right? Which is what we're facing currently, but what does that world? And so even when you go back to Kush, right? Ancient Kush, fascinating, right? I know in the West they talk about ancient Egypt a lot, but Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt. And, Kush also expanded to Ethiopia. Anyways, I can go on and on about this.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
One of the regrets I have in life, and one of the things that I like talking about a lot with friends, and it's making me fuddy-duddy these days. Friends are not liking it a lot. Talking about books, any kind of wisdom that you want in the world, you can find it. Any kind of information, knowledge, you can find it from the books. But I'm really worried that people are not as much a fan of books.
Yeah.
And they're not into books a lot.
That's true.
Technology has the impact there. But as someone who's a strong advocate of technology or harnessing of technology, at the same time, as someone who's a fan of books, what do you think should be the correct way to go about living in the world? I mean, is there any way of balancing the two or bringing the equilibrium or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's also always a way to balance it. Books are also being digitalized now. And so there's that aspect of things. One doesn't replace the other, right? So tech doesn't replace books. Books doesn't replace tech. They coexist. You can do both, and you can dive deep into both as well. It's funny because, when I even wrote this book with my co-author, a lot of people would be like, no one reads books. And that is true, right? Like, a lot of people don't read books, and that's why we're trying to push, and that's why we do self-development, to capture as many people as we can to read. But also, in this day and age of digitalization, we have other distractions. And it's not so much that people don't want to read, it's just that there's distractions such as social media that spikes our, attention. And so it's also something that we have to think about, which is, okay, are we shifting in this new age of digitalization, which we already are, where our books are relevant, or are they relevant? How can we spread knowledge? Is books the only way? There's other ways of spreading knowledge. If you go on YouTube, people are spreading knowledge in the most incredible way. So you don't have to read a book or write a book in order to spread knowledge or gain knowledge. And so we kind of have to understand how is the world shifting and how can we be a part of it. People still want to learn. People still want to grow. There's so much knowledge out there. And so it's the book is not the knowledge, right? It's what the content is inside. And so we have to think of it like that. Yeah.
Do you use social media?
I just started using social media.
Really?
I do not use social media at all.
All right.
And just now I started using social media. Social media really distracts me. Even now, I was so distracted by it, but I kind of found a hack where I was like, you can make the algorithm work for you. So I now changed the algorithm of social media to give me information that will help me, give me knowledge. So I kind of altered it where I started liking things, searching things. So TikTok it will go based on your algorithm. And so I'm like, okay, I will put a limit to it, but I'll also make it help me. Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in the coming 5 years? Like, it's basic to ask you this question, but I'm eager to know what things are there waiting to happen for you. And whatever is happening for you is not going to end up being for you alone, but it will impact several other people in Ethiopia and elsewhere in the world. So I just want to see that dream of yours coming and impacting lives everywhere. So if I ask you to tell me, Melat, in 5 years, what are the things that comes in that are really big?
Two things.
All right.
I think one thing is agriculture is in some way or form changing the agriculture space, not just technology, but, we're with so much GMO seeds and fertilizers, we're kind of in a crisis. So how can I help around that? So that's one aspect of things. So in 5 years' time, maybe solving that. The second aspect is telling our story through entertainment, through movies, through whatever it may be, in some form of platform of exactly like pre-colonial Africa. Imagine if people can visualize what Africa looked like, what Ethiopia looked like, before any of this, kind of making people think, awakening their mind. So that aspect of things. And then obviously when it comes to tech, maybe thinking of a different form of AI. What does AI actually look like for us? Thinking of it and coming up with a solution that fits us. It can be something completely different. It can be something slightly different, whatever it may be. In 5 years' time, I hope that I can pave a way of how can it help us?
Melat, I wanted to end there, but I can't because the points that you mentioned are really big. The issue, the part about agriculture is one thing. Agriculture is not portrayed in Ethiopia as something that you want to be in, a sector that you want to involve in, because we have this country of farmers. The majority of people live in the countryside of Ethiopia. And if you go there, you don't see the glamour of it. You don't see people living the life that Hollywood films or other media, social media shows us to be glamorous. So it's something that has been neglected for very long. One, why are you interested in there? You mentioned the issue of fertilizers, saying issues related to GMO. I understand. I clearly understand. But I want you to go a little deeper in that. And I'll mention the other things.
Okay. So the first thing is, as I mentioned even earlier, is, our farmers are the backbone of our economy. Agriculture is the backbone of Ethiopia, right? They feed us. They are the only people that give you all they have, right? They give you all the food they have, but they go home, they go hungry asleep. So if we can help them, then we've basically helped a majority of the people, right? So coming back to the aspect of, GMO and fertilizers. So my older sister, Aiden, she's someone that I admire and love so much. She's in the sector of coffee. And, I see a lot of the things that she's suffering in. And she's incredible. She studies a lot of these different sectors, especially in agriculture, on why is Ethiopia, one of the things she studies is we are the number one producers of coffee in Africa, one of the biggest in the world, but we're still poor. Why are we exchanging something so valuable to the world for pennies, right? Why is that? Why are farmers now moving towards cash crops? That doesn't feed them, right? They literally pluck out their farms where they grow tomatoes and potatoes, and they're planting other forms of cash crops. It can be wheat or coffee, right? Why are we at that stage where farmers are now literally breaking their backs, spending day in and out, spending the whole day working so hard for something that can barely even feed themselves or their family, right? And so, when you dive deep into the problems that we face, that farmers face in agriculture, you see that there's a lot of problems. And maybe you can interview my sister because she's incredible. She will talk extensively about this. But, we're very dependent on fertilizer as a society because of the GMO seeds. We are losing our organic seeds, which are, more resilient to so many aspects of things. We are now moving towards cash crop, which, on paper, it will help our economy. But what is it doing on the ground, right? It's really not helping the farmers. And something you will see is that even in areas where farmers are quote unquote thriving, you'll see aid trucks. Why is that? They're literally feeding us. They're feeding the world. But they're, so hungry they can barely survive for themselves. And you now see that the new generation of youths, they don't want to be farmers. They're moving towards the city. They're abandoning their farmland because they see no opportunities there. They see their parents suffering. They see everybody suffering, starving. And so they're like, what is the point of that? And so, we have to now cautiously make a change right now. It's very important because it's literally killing us. And so...
yeah, amazing. The second point that you mentioned is about telling the story of Africa, our narrative. Funny that you mentioned Egypt and comparing it to Sudan and everything that is happening, how one part of the continent is favored by the West and it's portrayed as a big, huge, glamorous and everything, and the other part of the continent, Africa, is not actually shown at all. The same is true for Ethiopia. And you mentioned about Timbuktu and the civilization around there. So isn't it a very difficult task to impose on yourself and wanting to tell about Africa? Because people are not trying it. If they try it, they fail. It's my understanding that unless something is favored by the West, the big propaganda machines, it cannot actually penetrate and go into the marketplace of storytelling. So don't you think that's another huge task?
Absolutely. And the reason why it's like that is because we don't have control over our own forms of distribution. Right? We don't. So there's so many different streaming platforms like, Netflix and so on that I can mention, YouTube, social media, right? This is not owned by us. And so it's very hard for our stories to spread. But it's not that people are not interested. It's not that we as Ethiopians or we as Africans are not interested in that. It's that there is no platform that wants to vocalize that wants to showcase that. And so the first thing, which is extremely tough and challenging, is, building our own channels. And we're working on that actually, is our own platforms that showcases our own stories. Once we have control of that, then we can, showcase our stories not only to ourselves, to Africa, but across the world. And so that's why we're not so much seeing our stories being told. And you mentioned Black Panther, right? As you can see, Black Panther, worldwide hit. It's everybody loved it. Imagine, but that's a fictional story, right? To a certain extent, there was not some form that is true, but vast majority of it was fictional. But our story is so much greater than that. Imagine if we told the truth. As I said earlier, Timbuktu had a 95% literacy rate. Other aspects such as the Ghana Empire, the Zulu Empire, all these empires, the Ethiopian, Abyssinia Empire, incredible. It's so fascinating. Imagine if we told our stories and told our truth. Everybody wants to hear. As you can see, Black Panther, a fictional story, was a huge success. Imagine something true. One person I admire so much, and I talk about her extensively in the book, is Queen Taitu. Imagine making a movie about her. Incredible woman. I know every person in the world will be inspired. She was the one behind something that made Ethiopia today. And so, yeah.
This has been one of the most interesting conversations I have had so far. And I've learned a lot. I usually come here, sit with Gus to learn, and I usually do that. But today, it was incredible. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Is there any final word you want to say?
I don't know. You're putting me on the spot. I guess the final words I will say is go discover yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Learn more about yourself. And be courageous. That's what I would say. Final words.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.